Stay tuned for how to plan your trip to Hawaii in 2025 step by step. I'm Erica from the Hawaii Vacation Guide. I'm on the Big Island, and yeah, we planned a really good trip. All right, in full disclosure, Jordan, my husband, now usually plans and books most of our trips, but I will say I'm the one that comes with most of the opinions. So I'm laying out this guide for you because I want you to have the best trip possible. Make sure you stay until the end because I think our last tip is the best, and it's the one that's saved our newsletter readers thousands of dollars. Yes, that's right, thousands of dollars. It saved us money too when we remember to do it. And if this is too much information for you to take in all right now, head to our website, thehawaiivacationguide.com, because we have 300 articles. That's a lot of information for you. We have a start here section. We have a Hawaii trip planning article that lays everything out step by step. We help you get everything started and finished. We even have a tours and activities database where you can search by island, by price, by type, and find the tours and activities that are right for you. So we've got it all covered. Oh, and we have free cheat sheets. Did I mention those? Grab those, thehawaiivacationguide.com. All right, let's get into the planning. All right, number one, what island are you headed to? You might know this already, but if you don't, let me give you a brief synopsis, and then we have so many more resources on our website to help you out. Head to Oahu for great food, nightlife, and a cosmopolitan vacation. Don't get me wrong, there is still the country and you can still head up to the North Shore and have that tropical lush vacation. Maui. Head there if you are looking for snorkeling and great resorts. If those are your thing, you are going to absolutely love Maui. And yes, you can visit Maui. Head to the Big Island for volcanoes, adventures, and snorkeling with manta rays. And then book a flight to Kauai if you are looking for jagged cliffs, lush landscape, and if more of that quieter, chill vibe is your thing, you are going to find that on Kauai. All right, when are you headed to Hawaii? Jordan likes to say we like to optimize for clouds, crowds, and cost, his favorite 3 C's. We have a video on the best time to visit Hawaii. I think it's up in that corner. Check it out. It'll help you if you really want to make a nuanced decision, but sometimes you can't choose when you go. Sometimes you're working around a work schedule or school schedules. And so let's just talk about some of the best times to go. We usually get 2 remarks from people. They want to know, is it warm enough to go in the winter? I'm standing here in February, so yes, it is warm enough to go in the winter. And number 2 is they are confused as to why it is raining in Hawaii in the winter. So let's talk about seasons. Hawaii has 2 seasons. Hawaii has summer and they have winter. So it is in the tropics. It is pretty much a beautiful climate year round, but it does get storms. So those storms are more likely to happen in the winter. That is the rainier period. That is when you might get some Kona lows coming in. You might get some big swells in the ocean, and the weather might have a few days of being like kind of off and pretty overcast and gray. That said, it's generally pretty warm year round. Even the ocean is warm to dip in year round. So the other month is the summer, is drier, you'll have less rain, and you'll have more blue skies. The one thing I quickly want to mention is hurricane season does run June through November. That is something to consider. It doesn't happen often that a hurricane hits Hawaii, but it can come close and cause really strong winds, and that might disrupt your vacation. So there is no perfect time to go. I will say for us personally, we choose the shoulder seasons. We love April and May. We love September, October, though I will say that doesn't really work with a school schedule very well, unfortunately. Oh, and one last thing I want to mention about coming in the winter. Wintertime can be a great time to come because the humpback whales are here. They are especially prevalent on Maui, but the humpback whales are here and that can be really cool to see. You can just be sitting out having dinner and see humpback whales jumping. It's honestly pretty magical. We love going out whale watching. We love going on whale watching tours. I think it's a pretty special thing that only happens here in the winter. That's December, usually until April. And I'm gonna drop some temperature graphs up on the screen. As you can see, I mentioned Hawaii is pretty temperate year-round. In the summer, it can get into the mid-80s. It can be pretty warm, and in the winter, usually you're looking at about around high 70s. And as I mentioned, there is a windward side and a leeward side. In the winter, expect more rain on the windward side. So if you are coming here in the winter, maybe minimize the amount of time you spend on the windward side. How long are you heading to Hawaii for? I mean, the correct answer is a month, but if you can't take a month, I mean, who can? Go for as long as you can. We like to say a good trip is minimum of 5 days. It depends how far you're coming from. If you are coming all the way from the East Coast, and I know we have a lot of viewers who are coming from the East Coast, you are amazing. That is a very long flight. You're gonna wanna stay more than 5 days. But we usually say if you're coming from the West Coast, 5 days is the minimum for like a good trip. And if you want to island hop, I would say plan to come for over a week. So maybe 8 to 10 days, and you can fit in a couple islands and not feel too rushed with your pace. All right, so all of the Hawaiian islands have a leeward side and a windward side. On the windward side, you can expect wind. You can expect more rain. You can expect it to be lush and tropical. On the leeward side, expect the opposite. It is drier. You won't find as many waterfalls. It won't be as lush and green, but you will have more sunshine and more swimmable beaches. If we are choosing to stay on the windward side of an island, specifically, we like to stay on the windward side of Oahu and Kauai often, we choose to stay there in the summer period, because in the summer period, you have less rain. The waters are calmer up there. Usually the ocean is lovely, but as always, check lifeguard conditions before you go out. But generally it's calmer and it's a nice summer vibe. In the winter, we choose to stay on the leeward side of each island. Do you need a rental car? You probably do. The only island we say you really can get away without a rental car is Oahu. And that's because they have a great bus transportation system if you want to go out and about. They also have the Waikiki trolley if you are doing a sightseeing loop within Waikiki. Ubers and taxis, Lyfts are readily available. And if you do want to rent a car to do an excursion for a day, you can pick it up right in Waikiki. The rental cars have offices right in Waikiki, and you can take it out and enjoy for the day and bring it back before you have to pay a hotel parking fee. For all the other islands, yes, we're going to want to get a rental car. We include links to rental car companies, both local and national, on our website, thehawaiivacationguide.com. You can check it out there. We like to rent with Discount Hawaii Car Rental because there is no prepayment required. So we like to check rates, book with them. They book through all the national carriers, and it's just easy. And then we check rates as we go. And if things get cheaper, we are able to rebook. It's easy. So how much is this all going to cost? I'm glad you asked. We have been tracking prices for a Hawaii vacation since 2019, so we've got some good data for you. And it looks like in 2025, prices are a tad bit lower than they were last year. That's a relief because a trip to Hawaii is very expensive. But let's break down the numbers for you. So over the past couple of years, flights to Hawaii have been incredibly low. So the airlines have been offering steals and deals while hotels and vacation rental prices have soared. We have seen prices just be astronomically high, especially over the holidays. So as I mentioned, so far in 2025, we've seen prices come down a bit. So if you're lucky, maybe you can score a deal. So we estimate that an average cost for a trip to Hawaii for a family of 4 is just over $11,000 in 2025. That's for 10 days, departing from LAX and staying in mid-priced accommodations on Oahu, and doing a couple of fun paid activities like going to a luau, heading out on a snorkeling trip, adding those in for some fun. So while on a trip, you have airfare, you have lodging, you have your hotel, you have activities, and you have food. Be prepared for food prices to be more expensive because most of the food is shipped in from the mainland way out here to Hawaii. But the most expensive part of your trip is probably going to be your lodging. I mean, lodging out here is expensive. I'm gonna put some graphs up on the screen, some charts so you can check out the numbers. But here's the main takeaway. The main takeaway is that it is more expensive over the summer and over the holidays. And Oahu is the cheapest island to visit, while Maui is the most expensive, like pretty much by far. And this is data from the Hawaii Tourism Authority. We're not just pulling this and making it up. This is actual published data for average daily hotel rates for each island. Once you've figured out what it's going to cost you for your vacation, for the flights, for the lodging, for the rental car, our next big tip is to book everything together. And I mean, book it all together. Do not wait. We've seen people lured in by really cheap flights to Hawaii, and then they book those and then they don't realize that hotels are so expensive. So if you find a flight you like, you find a hotel you like, you find rental car prices that you like, grab them, book it all together. And this helps so you won't forget to book anything. Side note, yes, Jordan and I have actually forgotten to book some of these things. You know, planning gets confusing, so if you don't book it all at the same time, you might show up to an island with no rental car. It's happened to us. The next tip that we love to always say is to book in advance if you can. So what does that mean? That means book 6 months out if you can for your trips, because that's when we see the best availability for hotels, the choice vacation rentals that you want. We see good flight prices. If you can't book 6 months out, don't worry. You know what? If you have a few weeks, you do what works for you. You try and make it work. We have booked trips 9 months in advance. We've booked trips 2 weeks in advance. We've done it all. I know sometimes life happens and you just want to take that trip, so you do you. But if you can, try to book in advance. And then as far as activities and restaurants, try and book a few of those, you know, a month or so in advance. Book that activity that you want to do, especially if you're coming during the high season. Make sure you're booking that luau maybe 1 to 2 months in advance, and that special restaurant a couple months in advance. Here's where I'm going to throw out a pitch for our itineraries again. We help you figure out the planning timeline. We remind you what restaurants need reservations so you can make those in advance, so you aren't wondering where you are going for dinner at 5 p.m. on a Saturday night in Hawaii. Now, I mentioned doing multiple islands. So if you are going to go inter-island, man, we have a great guide for you. You're gonna wanna check that out in the description below. It's an article telling you how to island hop, the different airlines to take, how long flights are, the different airports on every island. It's a quick read, so you will wanna check out that article down below. But in general, yes, you will want to book all of your inter-island stuff when you are booking your trip. So when you're booking your flights from the mainland or wherever else in the world you are booking from, we've met people who are here from all over the world. Make sure you're booking your inter-island stuff too. So there is not a ferry that takes you island to island. Unfortunately, I wish there was. There is a ferry that goes from Maui to Lanai, but that's it. Unfortunately, no ferry. There are 2 airlines that you can book with for inter-island flights, 2 main airlines, Southwest or Hawaiian. We like to go Hawaiian sometimes because they give you POG on the flight. That's always fun. These flights are quick, so they are only 30, 45-minute flights. So they're great and quick, but I will say, do plan to spend a good chunk of your day traveling, because you have to get to the airport. You got to go through security just like any other flight. You have to get there in advance. You have to drop off your rental car, get on the flight, get off the flight, get your rental car, get to your new hotel or vacation rental. It can just be a lot. So make sure you budget in enough time to do that. Man, are you tired of booking things now? You're not even on your vacation. There are a few more things you are probably going to want to book in advance. I mentioned booking restaurants in advance, and I mentioned booking some like tours, some bucket list activities in advance. Let me just give you a few examples of the things we love to book in advance. On this trip, actually, very specifically, we've booked a snorkel trip for the whole family in advance. I'm on the Big Island right now. We've booked manta ray night snorkeling for Jordan tonight, just him. He gets to go out and do that all by himself tonight. We've booked that in advance. We booked a nice restaurant in advance. And we were just on Oahu and we went to a wonderful luau and we booked that in advance. So those are the type of bucket list kind of activities that you want to make sure you book in advance. Not sure what you should be booking or what you want to do? Have I mentioned we have a website with tons of resources on things to do, things to see? I'm gonna drop down in the description below our articles for things to do on each island, because I think they're really helpful to get you started thinking about what you will want to do once you're here. A quick heads up, 2025, there are going to be even more things that you will probably want to book in advance. So a number of sites have started reservation systems to help with crowd management. So that includes Hanauma Bay and Diamond Head on Oahu, Iao Valley and Wainapanapa on Maui, HAWAIIAN State Park on Kauai, Haleakala Sunrise on Maui. So there are a number of sites that you will want to go see, maybe, that require an advance reservation. So make sure you are looking at that in advance and making whatever reservations are necessary, because it would be sad to show up and not have access to those places that you are hoping to go to. Again, if you're heading to those places, our itineraries do help you out, help you know what you need to make reservations for in advance so that you don't show up with a terrible surprise of not having a reservation to something like HAWAIIAN State Park. I talked about restaurants. I've already talked about booking restaurants in advance. I'm gonna throw out a little pitch here though, to try some local food while you're here. Oahu has a ton of local food if that is the island that you're heading to, but seek out some local grinds because it's really, really delicious and unique. It's not something you're going to find elsewhere. So that can be having traditional Hawaiian food, like say if you are going to a luau, or if you want to go to a restaurant on Oahu that serves traditional Hawaiian food. There are a number of them. This can also be as simple as grabbing some poke. Delicious. We love to get it from Foodland a lot of times, but have some poke while you're here. Grab a loco moco if you are feeling very hungry, and just try some local food. It's fun. This next tip, it's really 2 PSAs for you. The first one is learn a little something about the culture when you are here. I just feel like this really adds to your trip. It adds to your understanding of the islands. I mean, we were out, and this doesn't have to be hard to do. I mean, we were out on a snorkel trip this morning to Kealakekua Bay. I'll link it in the description below, but we took the boat out, went snorkeling, and on the ride back, we stopped 3 different times for the captain to point out some historical sites, and the stories were fascinating, and I hadn't heard them before, even though we visit here a lot. So I just think it really adds something to your trip. This doesn't have to be difficult. You can go to a luau. Luau's are, I know sometimes they can get a bad rap for being a little touristy, but they can be a great place to get some history. You could go to a free hula show. There are lots of free hula shows on Oahu, on Maui. I mean, there are a lot of free hula shows around. You can go on an outrigger canoe ride. They like to talk story and tell you things about it. You can go out with a local guide. So doing the road to Hana with a local guide, they will give you a lot of history, tell you a lot about the culture. We've also done a Haleakala Sunrise tour, and there was a lot of info about history and the culture and the ceremony. So it was really, really interesting. You can also do an immersive experience like the Malama experience up at Kualoa Ranch. We did that. We went out, we weeded some taro fields. It was interesting. We were out there with a native Hawaiian, and she was telling us about her family and some stories, and it just adds a little something to your trip. The second PSA, I want you to be safe. So I've got to mention that the Pacific Ocean, I'm looking at it because it's right behind me. It is fierce, and it can be really, really unpredictable at times. So I just want to make sure you keep yourself safe. So understand that the conditions might not always be great. So check with a lifeguard, swim at lifeguarded beaches. You can check ocean conditions down below. We link down below to a government website that monitors and tracks ocean conditions because they want you to stay safe. Always swim and snorkel with a buddy. Don't turn your back on the Pacific Ocean, and when in doubt, just don't go out. Okay, you've made it to the end, and I've got to say, this is my favorite tip by far. You have everything booked. You are ready to go. You are about ready to start packing your bags. You think you are done. Guess what? No, you're not. This is the time where you recheck rates. So right before you go, I love rechecking rates. I recheck anything that can be canceled and rebooked. So we have saved so much money doing this, checking hotels, checking flights, rebooking cheaper flights, canceling and rebooking rental cars. That's why we love to book with Discount Hawaii Car Rental, because there's no prepayment. So we just cancel it, rebook it. We've saved a ton of money doing this. And not only us, we have a newsletter, by the way, 70,000 people strong. I can't take credit for it. Jordan writes it, and he does a fantastic job. It's bi-weekly. It gives you all the tips you need to know to visit Hawaii. And whenever he sends out this tip, hey, reminder guys, you know, summer is coming up. you might have a summer trip planned, check those rates. People have written back with just phenomenal stories like, hey, thanks for that email. I just saved $1,600. Like, that's amazing. And so I want that for you too. So sign up for our newsletter so Jordan can remind you.
Yeah, thanks a lot for being a member of this newsletter community. Thanks a lot.
But also recheck those rates. It's an important step that you don't want to miss because, man, saving that money right before your vacation can feel good, and then you can put it towards some extra Mai Tais, a fancy dinner, a great activity, or just save it for your next trip, right? I hope this video was helpful. We have a step-by-step guide. I know I have mentioned our website many times, but it's because we meet people here and they're like, I love your videos, they were so helpful. I didn't know you had a website until the very end, like right before I booked my trip. And I'm like, oh, I wish you would have found that earlier because it's so helpful. We have a bunch of free content on there. We have a whole where to stay section. We have a tours and activities section and the newsletter, which I just mentioned that Jordan writes, that's free. Plus we have our itineraries, which I love them. Other people love them. I think you'll love them. They finish the planning off for you. They take you on some great trips around the island on this great planned out route. There's no backtracking. You can just go out and have an awesome day. We've done most of the heavy lifting for you. So I hope you have a wonderful trip to Hawaii. I hope this video helped and I hope to see you out here. If we see you, please say hi. We love meeting people. Have a great trip.